Everybody, so what I've decided to do is just do a daily stimulus update, okay? Where I just run down everything that happened in the world of stimulus in one take, so that's what I'm going to do. Also, I will be sticking around for 1 hour after this video publishes, answering all stimulus related questions that are asked in the comments below this video for those who like this video and subscribe to my channel. However, if I already answered your question in the video itself, I will not respond to it, so please watch the whole video because I cover various things today, from timing of the payments to SSI and more. But first of all, before we get into the current stimulus under the CARES Act, let's briefly talk about the second stimulus that some members of Congress are talking about. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said, "We must double down on the down payment we made in the CARES Act by passing a CARES 2 package, which will extend and expand this bipartisan legislation to meet the needs of the American people." She goes on to say that the Stimulus 2.0 must go further to help small businesses expand unemployment and, yes, cut more direct payments to the American people. She also talks about lots of folks, really, state and local governments, hospitals, health workers, and more. I'm obviously following this very closely and will update you on anything that happens with Stimulus 2.0, but the details just haven't been fleshed out yet. Also, New York Senator Chuck Schumer has called for up to $25,000 in heroes pay for frontline healthcare and service industry workers. Big corporations would probably have to foot this bill themselves, while small businesses would be likely to get federal funds to do so. Again, at this point, this is just an idea. There's no bills being drafted yet that have been made public, okay? And once these big, huge ideas are fleshed out a bit more, I will certainly do an update here on the channel. Now, I'm definitely not opposed to additional stimulus packages, okay? God knows we need them. But let's please figure out this one first, just logistically. I mean, the ink is barely dry on CARES Act 1.0, right? And as you well know, certain elements of this first one have been an absolute cluster, namely the PPP for small business and the whole fiasco with who was to file a tax return, the IRS portal, and all that. Speaking of which, when are these stimulus payments actually going out? So, there was the memo that various House Democrats supposedly saw last week, which said direct deposits will go out the week of April 13th. Paper checks start going out the week of May 4th at a rate of 5 million checks per week. Then Secretary Mnuchin in the press conference said, no, checks will go out in a matter of weeks. But then he also said, what we really want is as many people as possible in direct deposit, wink, wink. And then the Washington Post threw its hat in the ring and said they saw some plan that said direct deposits would hit on April 9th, which is tomorrow. If you do get your direct deposit tomorrow, please comment on this video and let me know. That said, Larry Kudlow, director of the U.S. National Economic Council, the NEC, said this week the checks from the Treasury and the IRS probably start going out, I think this week, perhaps early next. Notice the qualifying words there, I think. Perhaps. Okay, look, if Larry Kudlow, director of the NEC, which is the government agency that provides economic policy counsel to the president, if he has to use words like, I think, and perhaps, what does anybody really know regarding the timing, right? Nobody really knows, and even if the Washington Post actually saw something that said April 9th for direct deposit, this is the IRS, okay? And everything, as we've learned, is subject to change with the IRS. I hope direct deposit goes out tomorrow. I really do. We'll see. But that hasn't given enough time for so many people to update direct deposit information with the IRS, okay? The one thing I do know is that if you're on direct deposit with the IRS, you will be getting your stimulus a lot faster than those receiving paper checks, okay? Which brings me to my second point. Who still has to file a simple tax return? So as of right now, April 8th, the IRS has not put up its own portal for those who don't normally file a tax return. So apart from those who receive Social Security benefits and are issued a Form SSA 1099, that includes Social Security recipients, railroad retirement, and the IRS has updated its website to say SSDI, okay? But everyone else who wouldn't otherwise file a tax return has to file a simple tax return in order to receive their stimulus benefits. Now, currently, SSI and veterans benefits appear to have to file a simple tax return. There is currently nothing on the IRS website or anywhere else that definitively states, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that SSI recipients and veterans benefits recipients don't need to take further action. In fact, as of April 7th, which is yesterday, the SSA updated its website to say they're still talking to Treasury to figure out what SSI recipients have to do. Now, The IRS might come back later because everyone's pressuring them and say, okay, that's what we meant the whole time for SSI and VA to never have to file anything. But as of right now, SSI and Veterans Benefits have to file a simple tax return or wait for the IRS portal or wait for further IRS guidance. I'm going to make a video later today taking you in detail on the IRS website and on the Social Security Administration website, proving this to you because I've seen some other YouTubers covering the stimulus who get a lot more views than I do give incorrect information about this, as well as the media. So in my next video later today, I'm going to clear that up, so subscribe to my channel so you'll make sure you don't miss it. Of course, this could very well change, and I hope it does, and it probably will because everyone is on Treasury's butt to fix this for SSI. Okay, next update. Speaking of that simple tax return, how can you file a simple tax return? So, if you aren't required to file a 2018 or 2019 tax return, but you still need to file your simple tax return for stimulus purposes, you have 4 options. Number 1, wait for more guidance from the IRS on this, but who knows when that's going to happen, okay? When the IRS is going to finally get in gear, all right, with the portal and other guidance, okay? So don't hold your breath. Number 2 option, download and print the paper form from irs.gov. Just put $1 of income. Okay, make sure you sign and date your return and mail it to the address and the instructions depending on where you live, okay? Number 3, go use IRS Free File. You can go Google that, IRS Free File, okay? Or use the TurboTax Stimulus Edition. This is just what I'm calling it. I created a video this past Saturday when it rolled out. You can use that to file a simple 2019 tax return. Now, what if I already filed my 2018 and 2019 tax returns but my direct deposit information wasn't on there? You have 2 options in this situation. Do nothing and wait for a physical check in the mail, which could take significantly longer than direct deposit, or wait for the IRS portal to roll out where you can update your direct deposit information with the IRS. Do not file a simple tax return if you're in this situation. Do not use that TurboTax Stimulus Edition if you've already filed your 2019 return. It won't work. Now, it might work temporarily if somehow the IRS has to process your 2019 return you previously filed, but it could screw things up because if you file an additional return through TurboTax quote-unquote Stimulus Edition, it can mess it up in the system because you already have a 2019 return filed and the IRS wouldn't know which one's the correct one. Now, another question people are asking is, do I have to pay back my stimulus check? No. The stimulus payments are technically an advance payment of a brand new refundable tax credit for a 2020 tax return, the return that you will file next year in 2021. But instead of just giving you this tax credit on your 2020 tax return that you'll file next year in 2021, the government is saying, okay, we can advance the credit to you, pay you before you file your 2020 tax return, pay you now in advance. Now, not literally now, but whenever the IRS gets its act together and starts issuing these payments. So that's what these stimulus payments are. They're the IRS paying you in advance a 2020 tax credit. And don't misunderstand this. It's not like, oh, you know, you would have only gotten a $2,000 refund without the stimulus check, but because you got a $1,200 credit, your refund next year is only $800. No, that's not how this works, okay? If the credit didn't exist and you would be owed, say, a $2,000 refund on your 2020 tax return, now, with this additional credit, your overpaid tax on your 2020 tax return would be $3,200, except you got $1,200 in advance. Or now or whenever the IRS gets its act together, and you'll still get that $2,000 refund on your 2020 tax return you would have received if the stimulus had never happened. So no, you don't have to pay it back. Your stimulus, insofar as you're eligible for it, okay? And you're not trying to defraud the government here. I'm talking to good, honest Americans here. Insofar as you're eligible for the stimulus payment you received, and you receive it, it does not hurt you on your 2020 tax return. You don't have to quote-unquote pay it back. And moreover, if you receive less stimulus money this year in 2020, less stimulus money than you're entitled to, you will get the stimulus you were entitled to as a credit on your 2020 tax return that you will file in 2021. This could happen if, let's say, your 2018 income was over the stimulus threshold income amounts, but your 2019 and 2020 income was under the stimulus thresholds. But for whatever reason, you haven't filed your 2019 return yet. So what happens? IRS is going to look at your 2018 return and say, this individual is not eligible for a stimulus check. They made too much money. But you actually are eligible based on your 2019 return, but you just haven't filed it yet. So if this is the case, if you don't receive the full stimulus you're eligible for in 2020, you will receive a tax credit on your 2020 tax return, whatever stimulus you were owed based on your low, in this case 2019, income, but that you didn't receive a stimulus payment for in 2020. So everyone else got their tax credit in advance in the form of a stimulus payment. You're just going to have to wait until 2021 when you file your tax return to get it. So that's all I have for you right now. Stay tuned for that SSI video. I'm going to start filming it and creating it for you right after this one. And of course, if there's any breaking stimulus news at any time today, I will create a video about it as it happens. And hey, like I said at the beginning of this video, for those who like and subscribe, I'm sticking around for the next hour after this video publishes to respond to comments. So if you have a question, be sure to like and subscribe and ask it as it comments below. Thank you, and I will see you later today.